Just let me start record. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your time. Today we've got Kevin Gammy from Growth Mentors. Look, we've partnered with Kev over the next 12 months to really look at how we can deliver a series of leadership events to our members in Queensland, but also look at how we can dive down into a little bit more of the soft skills and those skills that I think we see are lacking in industry across the board. So today's really about how we can reflect on the year past and set ourselves up for the next 12 months, set some goals and really start to achieve what we set out to achieve. On that note, I'm really going to hand over to Kevin now. I'd just like to say, make sure you keep an eye out for all the activity that's coming up. There's some really exciting stuff we sat down and planned today. On that note, we'll get this prezzo up for you today, and you are good to go.
When you do that, you really got to go start to the back.
From the start, eh?
Hey, trap for young players. We all make these mistakes from time to time. I thought you needed to drive other stuff with that. I can play with this one here. That's no problem at all. Hey, welcome along to How to Stop Procrastinating for you and your team. We appreciate that there's a lot of people on the webinar that are leaders in businesses with others, as well as some people who are students and just want to stop procrastinating. And also, you could be in your own business. There's a fairly wide variety of people who registered from right around the things. My name's Kevin Gammy. I'm from Growth Mentors. We help people grow great businesses, quite simply. There's lots of stuff moving all over my screen, but hopefully you can't see that.
No.
First thing, we've all procrastinated from time to time. Awesome. Works really well. Remember that assignment you've had, whether you're at school or at university, and you're given the assignment probably in the first or seven lecture. You're paying so much attention. I'm sure you were. I know I always did. Not. And all of a sudden, about 3 days out from the assignment being due, you've had it for 6 weeks now. You've gone, oh my God, I've got to get, and you've rushed together. You've tried to call the lecturer, tried to get an extension. They've gone, hey, can you give me a good reason? To which you've kind of looked down at your shoes and gone, maybe not. So then you've rushed around, you've pulled all the research together, you've got the information in, and you've just managed to get it in the door or submit it through the inbox. I'm showing my age here. I am 50. And so when I went to uni, you actually physically had to hand in assignments. There was no internet. I went to uni before the internet. Funny thing about that. So it does show my age. You got it in just in time. And when you got the assignment back, you went, hey, the best mark ever. Not, because you got the marks you actually deserve. So we won't talk too much about that particular assignment that I had, but I'm sure all of us have a similar experience from time to time. We'll talk a little bit about why we do that. We just seem to put things off in favor of doing other things. Procrastination is simply putting off the important stuff and instead doing other stuff of less importance in its place. We'll talk a little bit about that. I wonder if any of you guys have also got to the end of the week and wondered, hey, where did the time go?
Every week.
And on top of that go, oh, and why isn't that major project that I really need to get done finished yet or started yet? You ever had that? Yeah. Look, from time to time, we all get that. So I want you just for a minute, I want you to think of one key project that seems to be put off. And I want you to write that down in front of you today and now so that you've got that in your mind as we're going through this particular webinar. I'd really love you to be thinking about how can I take that positive step and actually start getting that particular one done. Why is it that I'm putting it off? Why really doesn't matter. We're going to talk about, there's 4 main reasons that we do procrastinate. And we're also going to talk a little bit about turning that around and developing a high-performance business, a high-performance team, or just being a high performer in reality. I mean, we'll even give you a little bit of insight into doing that. So the first thing, I want to start breaking some myths as we're thinking about that project. Time management myth. There is no such thing as I'm just bad at time management. We all have 525,600 minutes. There's a whole song that goes with it in the stage show Rent. It's an awesome show if you ever get a chance to go and see it. But it's Jonathan Larson talks about how will you measure your year, and one thing is we all get the same amount of time. The other thing is that it's a resource that we can't buy unless you watch that movie that's got Justin Timberlake in it. But we're not in that world. We actually can't buy extra time. We do have a limited time and only the time in front of us. But we tend to forget that because we have a pretty long life. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But the first thing we keep talking about, we suffer from overwhelm. But overwhelm is simply a lack of clarity. It's insufficient clarity. I haven't taken the time to really define exactly what I need to do. And that's generally caused because we have a lack of purpose. I don't know how this exactly fits in, so I'm just going to keep drifting along and not worry about it. Oh, that's too much information. It's too much to bite off in one thing. And so instead of doing that, I'm going to carry it. This is Will Smith in the movie, awesome movie it was, and I'll get back to you. He was a drunk guy that had superpowers like Superman. Yeah. Hancock was the movie. Thanks. Sorry about that. I'll get more sufficient. The other thing, we do procrastinate from time to time. Okay, when we procrastinate, it's just simply a lack of prioritization. It's a lack of commitment to the cause. I'm not going to get people to actually respond and tell us when was the last time they actually missed getting to the bathroom. That'd be a little embarrassing. We won't talk about the incident on the bus in 2013. We're actually going to talk about the fact that we generally do get to the bathroom when we need to. When it becomes urgent enough, we don't feel we need to go and look at that one last Facebook message or talk to Mary on the way. We just get there. Procrastination is just simply we haven't got whatever we need to do as a high enough priority right now for whatever purpose that is. In relation to that, I want to help you build. High performance in your environment. So whether it's as an employee, whether it's you're building a team and you're wanting them to perform in a high performance standard, or whether you've got a business and you want the whole business to perform that way. It's actually about using emotional intelligence to get what we want. The first step in relation to that, and if we go back a step, emotional intelligence, did you know that it's actually the greatest contributor to your success? Your actual IQ only contributes to about 17% of your success. Yeah, so it's really a shame. We're working in IT, and that's an industry that typically will get quite intellectual people to it, and yet that high intellect still only contributes 15% of or 17% of your success. Your personality only contributes 15% of your success. And yet we've got stereotypes of this type of person, really gregarious people do sales jobs, and traditionally we would think that people who are quite quiet and very introverted will actually do IT type roles. But that personality and that IQ, the personality accounts for 15% of your success. The other 68% of your success is around your emotional intelligence. How easily and effortlessly you get others to come on the ride with you. And that's really important that we use that well. So in relation to that, the first thing is to get a purpose behind what we're doing, particularly if you're trying to get other people to join your agenda, to join that bandwagon and actually do to accomplish a common goal. You actually need to have that purpose behind it so that people want to do that. And it's about being precise about exactly what you want to do, what you want to achieve. That'll give you both that clarity, and the purpose behind it will give commitment to do that. I hope you guys aren't getting all of this in your thing. So purpose and precision will give you clarity and commitment, or commitment and clarity to achieving that. And it'll take that overwhelm out straight away, because all of a sudden you know why you're here, you know what you need to do, and you can break it down into small steps and achieve that. The next thing is about curing that self-doubt. From time to time, we all have that self-doubt, but it's about creating a process and framework with which to do that. I was recently putting together a school. I'm building a school to help small business owners achieve better success in their business. And in doing so, I'm getting small business owners to create workshops. I know that not many small business owners go out of their way to actually do workshops. So the very first thing we did was here's how to create a workshop framework. And in that, we explain to them, hey, there's 8 simple steps to do that. And we talk about that. We had our first filming day, and at the end of it, every single one of them said, you know, it was so great that I had a process and a framework. It gave me the confidence to go and deliver that without any of that hesitation and that stress that I normally would have felt from that. You know, when I was young, I used to play soccer. I was never very good at it, but I ended up being a little bit less crap because we would go and practice twice a week to go and play. So we kind of had a bit of a game plan and that sort of stuff. It just made me a little bit less crap. Okay, I'm not saying that I was ever going to be Maradona or in these days Ronaldo. I really do show my age in the examples I give. I'm sorry about that. It helped me build that confidence in that. These days, they call it strategic desensitization. I'm happy with practice.
Wow. And just for everyone who is, remember, send your questions through the Q&A. There's the Q&A section there. Any questions you got, please send them through. This is very interactive today. We want to hear your questions and ideas as well.
Absolutely. Now, the final thing, and this is about overcoming procrastination, is looking for feedback and being socially aware of what's the impact of what you're doing having on those around you. Are they getting on board and helping you with that mission, or are they running away? Now, as we do that and as we look for feedback, as opposed to thinking that everybody is rejecting us and all that sort of stuff, if we just think of it as feedback, we become more focused about what we're doing. We can actually invoke some efficacy, which is just effective efficiency, okay? And we can get better and better and better at what we're doing, seeing mistakes simply as that. If you think about Thomas Edison and inventing light bulbs, it was, hey, I didn't make 10,000, I didn't have 10,000 failures, I just found 10,000 ways it didn't work. And in reality, as we're leading, as we're performing, we need to think of it in terms of that. Hey, I got a negative reaction then. Hey, was that part of the process that I didn't get right, or was it in how I did that particular thing? Now, my Year 9 science class, that was pretty awesome. I loved it when they gave us chemicals and stuff and we could mix them up, cause little explosions, set the lab bench on fire. We often found at the end of our experiment that it wasn't a fault of the method, it was a fault of our application of the method or how we did that particular process. And so we had to go back and redo it properly a second time. And sometimes, yeah, we make mistakes. Sometimes our method's not right. But if we're aware to what's happening around us, then we can make those adjustments. And through doing so and remembering the purpose with which we're doing this in the first place, then we can go through with confidence. I call that your mojo. Some people you just naturally want to follow. You think of people like Richard Branson, who just naturally inspire people. You know, he's got mojo. Wouldn't it be cool if you could go through easily and effortlessly through your career or with your business with that kind of presence about it, knowing the mission that you're on and being able to just keep going through, sure, taking the setbacks. Richard Branson's had setbacks. With his Virgin Galactic, it exploded and people died. Do you think he didn't take that personally? Of course he did. But he kept moving forward because he knew that there was a greater purpose behind it. And that's a really important part of that particular process. So what's all this got to do with procrastination? We talked a little bit about that there. And why do we procrastinate? I'm here to tell you, it's all right. We're all natural born procrastinators. Yeah, look, you'll get a lot of dad jokes here as we go through. We are all natural born procrastinators. Procrastination, it's not your fault. Now, having said that, I don't want you to start using it as an excuse. Because when you start embracing, oh, look, I'm just a natural born procrastinator, well, it's pretty easy. It's like the guys in Stockholm in the bank crisis that started defending their captors, right? And it's emotional Stockholm syndrome. What you're doing is saying, oh, that's right, I can't do this because, and you put a label on it and you feel okay with that. It's just emotional Stockholm syndrome. You don't have to procrastinate. It just means you haven't got a high enough cause at this point in time. It's also a factor that you're operating on your limbic system. You see, we've got two different systems that we live with in our brain. We've got the limbic system and we've got the prefrontal cortex. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We're not going to get heavily into the whole brain science of it. If we go, we've got two systems, one that thinks fast and instantly and one that takes time to calculate. Okay, and we think of it like that. The challenge is the limbic system is like that naughty puppy. Like we've got a couple of puppies. I love my puppies. They are truly awesome. But there is no other time but right now with the puppy. You can punish them for doing something wrong. Walk inside for 30 seconds and you come outside. Oh, so where have you been all this time? You know, they love the fact that you're there. And, you know, the limbic system's like a naughty puppy, right? There's nothing but right here, right now, and having fun is the most important thing. Your limbic system covers your basic emotions. It covers, you know, joy and happiness and love. It also covers fear and anxiety. And so it's far more fun to have fun. And so if there's no other time but right now, let's just do that. And that is the job of the limbic system. We also have the prefrontal cortex. I did mention that a second ago. And with the prefrontal cortex, that's the stuff that helps us do complex things. We never would have got to the moon without a prefrontal cortex because we would have been too busy having fun here and now on Earth. Why would we want to go anywhere else? Here's the most awesome place to be. But we decided that we did want to go and we wanted to explore. We wanted to achieve something else. And so we needed to get some strategies, some problem solving, some planning. We had to invoke that logical and calculated ability. And that's the stuff that the prefrontal cortex does. And it's important that we have that. If we make decisions just with our limbic system, awesome for now, maybe not so great for later on. You see, we've got our here, you in the moment. We've got our here, you in the future. Now, I don't know how you in the moment went from being a young girl having an awesome time to you in the future becoming Richard Branson. Let's not worry about that, but we see ourselves as rich and successful and having an awesome retirement. And then there's this gap in between. There's this gap in between. And unless we actually use our prefrontal cortex and let it help us solve how we're going to be, you know, happy, healthy, wealthy in our retirement so that we can do the things that we truly want and enjoy that time, then we're not going to get there. We're just going to be living in the moment. I wanted to talk about how we procrastinate and a normal person's procrastination and action line. People have studied this and they've come up with this cool little graph, right? Basically, we have this situation that when we know that we do have a project on, we'll start to have a little bit of stress and anxiety around it. And over time, that will continue to increase. And it'll increase until it hits our threshold of stress and anxiety pain. Okay, we'll start to feel guilty about not doing that. And then when we hit that line, we'll actually start taking action. When we get to a threshold that we've had enough stress, it's time to start taking action. And what we'll find is very rapidly, all of the stories that we're telling ourselves about that particular project, they weren't really that true. They weren't really that important. I'll give you an example. I built a pool. Well, I didn't build a pool. We had pool builders come and build a pool. We ripped out our entire backyard and we redesigned it. We only had a really tiny backyard. But there was this hole left where we're going to have a deck built. We got some quotes on building the deck and, you know, they were utterly ridiculous.
More than the pool almost, yeah.
They were utterly ridiculous. We won't talk about the cost blowout on the project from where it started to where it finished. It was a little embarrassing to say the least. But the pool deck, I went, hey, Melissa, I can do that. It's only a deck. How hard can it be? It's only going to be, 6 inches off the ground. Anyone can do that. Sure, I also hadn't actually completed a woodwork project since high school. So we were 30 years later. And so after talking about this, I went into the early planning phase. I went there, I measured it up, I worked out how much wood I needed. I did some research on, what legal requirements I needed for this deck to be right. I did some really cool stuff in my early planning phase and we were going. Well, so we thought. And the early planning phase, this is about early to mid-August that the early planning phase started. And it did go for a few weeks, so it probably went into the end of August, the early planning phase. And then I drifted accidentally into the intentioning phase, right? I actually called the intentioning phase the intense planning time, but it really wasn't. I was really just being footy finals had come along. It was September after all. And so my weekend was taking with getting excited about, could Cronulla progress one more? In fact, I think that year they were knocked out. So,
let's not go there.
Not a real issue. But, hey, it's footy finals time. Let's be excited about that. It was getting towards the end of September, and Melissa's going, so how are you going with that planning, Kevin?
I'm getting that, yeah.
And I'm going, no, look, it's at the intense planning. She said, I know, Kevin. Hey, I've got a birthday coming up. Let's have a birthday party. We'll do a pool party because her birthday's early November.
She's smart.
She is much smarter than me. I've got to say, she is much smarter than me. And I had to get into my intense action planning, right? By the middle of October, she said, hey, there's no more excuses. We've got this party. So I got excited about the party. We got brochures coming up about the party. We sent them out to all of our friends, a retro pool party to celebrate Melissa turning 40. She wasn't really turning 40, but let's not talk about the jokes that went around about that. It was really embarrassing. All my friends started buying her really cool presents for her 40th birthday, but she was actually a little bit older than 40. And so, but it was really cool that everyone thought she was 40. Let's not worry about that. Yeah. But I had to get into the intense planning phase, or I was going to have the embarrassment of all of my friends turning up and there being a hole in the ground covered beautifully with marble around it, beautifully outlined and everything, but
no deck.
No deck. And I was getting really quite stressed about, hey, I haven't done a woodwork project since I'd left school. So about 2 weeks out, I hit my pain threshold. I hit my, my stress and guilt threshold and got onto it. I dug the holes for the footers, put them in, put the joists in. They were all flat. Got all the deck laid, everything. And here's the end result. It was nice. It was a pretty cool deck. And that's Angus. That's my naughty puppy. Yeah. He is very, very cool, I've got to say. So, it was awesome. But what I had imagined the whole time, I'd build up this stress. Can I actually do this? And all you really got to do is cut some wood straight and then, put it down and then drill it in. And it's not really that hard if you ever do need to do that. So once you got going, stress comes down. It was a pretty simple process and a really cool result. So, thanks for all those who think that's a nice, cool backyard. Let's talk about the 4 different types of procrastination. See, we do it on all different, it's not just assignments that we do this with. There are 4 key types of procrastination. We've got the adrenaline junkie, we've got the perfectionist, we've got the self-handicapping, and we've got the disbeliever is what I call the last one. We'll talk about those a little bit more detail. The adrenaline junkie. Have you ever met someone who, hey, I eat pressure for breakfast, and particularly in a work environment, they'll bring on new project, they still haven't delivered any yet, but they bring on all these different projects because they love it. And then the day before, they're up till 4 o'clock in the morning, making sure they're bashing this thing out and everything else. Now, scientific research has actually stated that the guys that see themselves, and they are traditionally guys. It's to do with having a dominant personality, which is a more masculine trait. It's not only guys, but generalization. It's to do with having a dominant personality, a more masculine trait, but they'll bring on things because they want to be seen as achievers. They want to win. They want to knock all this stuff off. And so they want to be seen as being busy and being accomplishing and winning here, there, and there, right? And traditionally, they don't actually handle stress as well as other people. There's a locum thing about stress, and when you get the project, if you plan it out over a period of time, you'll handle stress much, much better than the guy that's rushing to do everything all at the last minute. So sorry for those people that feel like they identify with the adrenaline junkie. It's better to actually plan it out, but we'll come back to that. I remember in my earlier career, I was working for IBM, and I was a little bit like that. That was back when IBM was a really big company. That's how long ago it was, in the 80s. When they ran the ads, nobody ever got sacked for buying IBM. Times have changed, haven't they? They don't even do computers anymore. Interesting story. Then there's the perfectionist. The perfectionist, it's got to be right. Typically the perfectionist is largely occupied by the conformist or the professor. Your C&G type, if you're into your personality types, if you're disc profile and that sort of stuff. Those that love to analyse and do that sort of stuff. traditionally a lot of IT people have a lot of this within their energy type. And basically it has to be right. When I wrote my book, Finding Your Business Mojo, I suffered a lot of this. It absolutely had to be right. It had to be perfect, or at least it had to be presentable. I have personally, when we're thinking about the perfectionist, I actually get people to think about it not as things have to be perfect, but they have to be professional. If you can see us up in the corner, you have to be professional. It's got to be of professional quality, and we'll keep wanting it to, I've just got to fix this. What if somebody wants to argue with that point, and I've got to get that right, and I've got to do that. And in the end I went, hey, damn it, I'll just write like I talk, and I'll get my book out, which I did, not quite to the deadline I had. There was a lot of other stuff going on in there, and we'll talk a bit about, there was a lot of procrastination. But we need to get it right. It was right, and we needed to do that. So a lot of people writing books, quite often, that's the example given for that, okay? The other one is the self-handicapping. The assignment type scenario is a really typical example of this. And basically, quite often, I actually think that this comes more from that care and nurturer energy. They don't want to stand out from the crowd. And there's a bit of doubt about, can I really do this? Do I have what it takes? And so they don't want to stand out and be measured. And they want to give themselves a little bit of out in case I don't perform extraordinarily. I want to make sure it's awesome, but I'm a bit scared about that. So I'm going to put it off for as long as I can, so that when I hand it, I go, oh, look, I really didn't have the time. And there's an excuse as to why I didn't perform quite so well. And that's why this particular one is so often mentioned in relation to your university assignments, or assignments at work, or projects that you need to do with your business. As I said, the last one is that denial or self-belief. Look, I was challenged a while ago after I'd put out my book. My mentor had actually challenged me, Kevin, why are you procrastinating about getting out there and doing public speaking and that sort of stuff? And it was because I used to always go, I'm never going to be Anthony Robbins. I'm not really trying to be that, because I didn't believe I could. So it is about, overcoming that disbelief. Let's face it, Anthony Robbins wasn't Anthony Robbins when he started out either. He just found a bigger purpose that drew him to that. So all of these different steps really, whether it's the Adrenaline Junkie, whether it's perfectionist, whether it's self-handicapping, or whether it's disbelief, it's really just self-protection in a different way. It's about protecting your ego. And so if we can take the time and let go of our ego, we can actually create the steps to have an awesome life and to have an awesome experience with that. Whether you're working for someone else, whether you're working for yourself, you want to make sure that you're constantly moving forward. It's really hard for sailing boats to go backwards.
True. You wouldn't want to be.
The wind, it's pretty scary if they do. Trust me. So I've got 7 steps to help you overcome procrastination. How are we going on time?
Yeah, we're looking good. Yeah, about 25 minutes. Hope there's some questions there.
I do. Hey, we've still got a little bit of time. Hey, I'm not finished.
No, right.
I haven't even given people the steps.
Just checking.
Are there questions?
No, not yet.
Yeah, no. So feel free to give us some questions if you would like. The first one is identify a clear goal. Don't just go, hey, if you're in business, don't go, I want to grow this year, because that's not a goal. Okay, I say that's not a goal because there's no definite path that you can take just to grow. You're getting away from where you were. I don't want to go broke. Not a goal. I want to achieve this amount is really important. To set a goal for wanting to achieve that. And also have appropriate rewards for that. Make sure that your rewards are appropriate to the goal that you set. If you've got a small goal that next month I want to do, I want to achieve, $10,000 or $2,000 in profit, you can't go on a $5,000 holiday at the end of it. It really doesn't quite work. Sorry about that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Tried.
Once you've got a larger goal, we want to make sure that you don't hit overwhelm either. So what we want to do is we want to define clear milestones that are going to get you there. Now, there's two ways to get your milestones. You can go, hey, we're here right now and we want to achieve that goal. What's the first step? And when I've done that, what's the next step? And when I've done that, what's the next step? And you can do it that way. Or you can start like they did when they did the mission to the moon. Okay, so if we want to get a rocket ship to the moon, if they ever did, for all those conspiracy theorists out there. Okay, so if we want to get to the moon, what's the last thing that we need before we do that? Great, so once we've got that, what's the thing that we need to accomplish before we can accomplish that? And they actually brought it back, and then they put time blocks in for how long they could take to accomplish each of those steps. So you can build it forwards or backwards. I don't care which way you do it, but look, put all the milestones you need to get into your big goal. The next step then is to develop a clear action step for each of those milestones. If you've got 5 milestones to the accomplishment of your big goal, make sure you know roughly what resources, what knowledge, and what resources, what knowledge, what skills you need for each particular step. Hopefully you guys aren't getting that. No, I think it may not be plugged in or turned on down there. Right. So with that, before we run out of power here, yeah, that's working. Sorry about that. So develop clear action plan for each milestone. Identify the skills, the knowledge, the resources. There's only 4 reasons that we fail. 1, we didn't know what to do. 2, we didn't have the skills or the knowledge to do that. 3, we didn't have the resources that we required. Or 4, we choose not to. And the last one bites, it really does, when we go, okay, so I had everything I needed, but I didn't accomplish. Crap, I made the decision not to do that. And that's why you're on here today right now, is so that you can accomplish that. The 4th step is plot a timeline. Now that you know what skills, knowledge, resources you need, you know what you need to accomplish, and you've got a mini action plan for each step, you can know roughly how long you need for each particular step. And rather than just having, I'm here and I need to accomplish a big goal, you can break it down so that, hey, that big goal might take 12 months or it might take 4 weeks. And then I can break that down into, okay, so this week I know I need to do this. With the fact that we've broken it down into a smaller step and then we've got clear action plans within each step, overwhelm's not an issue anymore. It's not we don't know what to do. We've identified that we've got the knowledge and the resources, so we've taken that excuse out as well. And so it's much easier to then set some time aside each week towards the accomplishment of that larger goal by accomplishing each of those mini goals. Okay? Get an accountability buddy. We are the easiest person to lie to. You are, as yourself, is the easiest person to lie to. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that this week. I'm going to do that this week, and keep doing that. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Hey, we can't go backwards in time, as we said before. So get an accountability buddy. It could be anyone. Get them, check in with them for each milestone, but also get your accountability buddy to be checking back on you on a regular basis, and do it from a variety of different ways. Do it through, sending an email, sending an SMS or a messenger message or whatever. Do it with a phone call. Phone calls I find to be the most, much higher up you're going to be far more accountable, and doing it live, that makes you even more accountable. Trust me. When I'm there live with my mentor and he's saying, have you, it's very hard to say yes if the answer's really no. And he calls me on it straight away. So I stopped lying to him a long time ago. Celebrate the success. Both the completion of each little milestone, have some success. Give yourself a little reward. It can be as simple as, a piece of chocolate cake, or it can be, as complex as it needs to be in proportion to the gravity of that particular milestone. So find someone you respect that will stay with you through to the successful completion. Someone that's going to hold you accountable and get you to achieve that particular goal in a defined time period. Now, if it's only a little minor thing that you've been procrastinating about, that's cool. You can do that yourself, but hold yourself accountable. But if it's something bigger, if it's that project that you wrote down earlier on that for some reason stuff keeps getting up in the way, then I would encourage you to find somebody else to help you with that. Because we all have that naughty puppy. We all have that naughty puppy in our limbic system that's going, hey, we've got some fun to do. Let's go out and play. Let's watch the cricket. Let's go to the movies. Let's catch up with the boys for a poker night or a drink or whatever else. Or maybe that's just me.
And you get away from the painful stuff.
If it's just distraction, it's just distraction. Yeah. It's not helping us get where we want to go.
Exactly.
So here's a calendar of life, the typical Australian. Okay. Basically, I did a little bit of research. We're all going to live till we're 82 3/4 years old. Sorry to tell you, that's about it. That's the average anyway. We can't be sure about that. So the first 21 years, basically, it's play, learn, and grow. Okay, that's what we need to do, and that's what we do. We go to school, we go to uni, we pop out at the end of that, and we're meant to be a mature adult. Happy 21st birthday, get out and work. Doesn't sound like as much fun as it should. And then we get to go and embark on a career that hopefully you do actually love. Hey, we have got some questions coming through, which is awesome.
Finish up.
We'll work out what they are soon. We do have some questions. So, and as you're going through that work life, somebody, a financial planner once told me that if you actually have a dedicated plan, both for savings and investment, and you continue that over a 10-year time period, you can create a wealth that's sustainable to the income that you're on. Now, don't ask me to repeat exactly what that is. Go find a really cool financial planner and they can do that. And whether it's 10 years or whether it's 15 years, it really doesn't matter. When I was young, the government used to say you could retire at 60 years old and we'll give you a pension. And then they pushed that out for men to 65 and then women followed and it was 65. And then they pushed that out to, let's make that 68. And more recently, they pushed it out and said, maybe between the ages of 68 and 72, you might want to drift into retirement because it's really good for your health because too many men die as soon as they retire, which is true. And it's because they don't have other interests, but we'll talk about that some other day. You see, retirement isn't a factor of when somebody else or the government tell you can retire. Retirement is just a factor of money. If you've got enough money, if you've listened to the financial planner and you've developed enough wealth to keep you at a lifestyle that you're happy with, you could be living in retirement at any point in time. It's time to take action now. With the projects you're putting off, they could be hurting your career or your business, or they could be hurting your leadership. And so it's time to take action now. You don't have to have a bear about to devour you. It's time to take action. You can retire whenever you want. That you can invoke that 10-year rule whenever you want, and you can actually find that, hey, I'm 68, but I've been happily retired for the last 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Unfortunately, I can't retire at the age of 50. I'm 52 now. I've left it a little bit late for that, but I can invoke a 10-year plan so that I can retire on my terms, not on the government's. Now, in talking to the guys today, if you do want more help, in talking to the guys today, we actually came up with a bonus.
Yep. So Kevin runs a Stop Procrastinating course. It goes for what?
28-day challenge.
28-day challenge.
So just 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
We have 3 sessions in 4 weeks.
Yep, and we've got 3 places exclusively for those who attended the webinar. So you'll see Kevin's email there, kevin@kevingammy.com. Please email Kevin, and then we will do a random draw for those 3 who came through. Well, are you happy for this presentation to go out to members? So they've got some notes. We'll send this presentation out.
If you'd like the notes, send that along to me. If you'd like, it's going to be on the 26th of February. We're going to start. So in 1 month's time, we're going to start the 28-day challenge. Basically, it's about accomplishing a project that you've been putting off. Now, some people that have done this in the past have had some really cool results. I had a bookkeeper, Sandra, who basically was doing a really good job with her clients. She had someone offshore helping her out and all that sort of stuff. What she did is she decided that for all of my major clients, I'm going to go through and I'm going to actually analyze what we're doing with them and create a systematic approach to that.
Yeah.
She saved so much time. She was able to let go of that bookkeeper, and that made her $22,000 a year.
Jeez.
Pretty cool result for for basically 3 sessions and getting a project done. I had another guy, Kevin, Kevin Morrissey, who's got Office Heaven, is his business. He does office stuff delivered. So if you want anything for your office, furniture, stationery, anything, he delivers it to you. It's pretty cool. But what he did was he worked out that he wasn't doing everything was manual. And so he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up all of the products into an automated system so that I can do automatic quoting on that. Because of that automatic quoting, he basically brought on 4 major clients the very next week or the very next month after completing that, because clients found it so much easier. Now, these are projects that weren't really hard. They knew they should have done it, but they were able to do that. So it was really cool.
And you all wrote one down at the start, so you've got no excuses.
I want you to go back to that project that you thought about earlier on.
All right, we're going to take some questions now, so I'll leave this to Kev. They're all there, mate. Start at the top and go down.
So we're starting at the top. We've just got a couple at the moment. Is it possible to have a PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
What do you suggest about registering with coaches to prepare ourselves to take action? I think it's an awesome idea being a coach. Safina, I might be biased, but I've had some clients achieve some truly awesome results because they've decided to do that.
Yeah, and we've partnered with Kevin for this reason. You know, this is new area from a content and an education perspective for ACS Queensland members. So, you know, I know that anyone that reaches out to Kevin for further education and to engage with his business will be looked after quite well, because that was the whole point of this partnership. So what's the next one there?
And what strategy you can use to find a mentor in Australia? Hey, it's what I do. But having said that, I also run a group called Brisbane Small Business. There are a load of coaches in that particular group, and I'm always happy to look. I'm not the right person for everyone. I fully appreciate that, and I'm not the right price point for everyone. So I work with clients who really want to take their business to the next level or want to take their careers onto the next level, and with that, I charge appropriately for what I do, and people get awesome value out of that. However, not right for everyone, but I do know a truckload of coaches through my through the network that I've accumulated over time, but also through my group in Brisbane Small Business, which you'd be welcome to join as well.
So just reach out to Kevin for any questions regarding that. He'll be more than happy to answer.
Absolutely. And Carolyn, how do I identify procrastination in my team? That's really easy. So if you haven't already got balanced scorecards in your business and that sort of stuff, a balanced scorecard's a really great way to stop procrastination in your team. Ways to identify it is you see those projects and your staff doing the things that they love to do, but not the other.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really easy. We all do the stuff we love to do really quickly. That's not an issue at all. It's the stuff that we find uncomfortable, the stuff that we find a bit icky,
boring, challenging.
And I do have a bit of a strategy around, or a bit of a theory around that. You see, with the stuff that we find icky, the only way that we can actually do stuff really well is to go through that icky phase.
Do it.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's that strategic desensitization, that practice, or creating a scientific method that we're going to go and do this through. So we've got a step-by-step approach, and then getting better at it. And as we do it more often, we're going to get better at it. Anything that you're awesome at today, you sucked at once before.
Yeah.
Okay? Think of your first driving lesson. Now, when I get most people to think of their first driving, I get really, in live events, I get them to talk to me, what was the worst experience you had? Yeah. We've had people actually crash in their first driving lesson. I wasn't quite that bad. I did, you know, do a 4-wheel slide into a corner. It was pretty awesome. But it was a new development townhouse, a new housing development estate, you know, and it was back in the 70s.
I think he's making excuses there. Hey?
So it was pretty awesome. Yeah. So do you have tips for not procrastinating other people's pet projects with the same priorities projects that are more passionate to me? Cool. So, yeah, and that's a really great one. Dave, that's an awesome question. So Dave Turner's asked, do we have any tips for when we might be procrastinating on doing other people's pet projects because we're doing stuff that we feel is more important to us. Is that the right? Can we turn on to the chat part so we can so that we can chat with Dave? Hey, so Dave, can you let us know, have I interpreted that right? So basically, you're busy doing stuff that you feel is your priority, but it's somebody else's pet project. Is that correct? You can just type into the chat box, that'd be awesome. And we don't know. Let's assume that I've got that right. Okay. So I've got my agenda, and that's that. Now this comes down to where you're at in the business.
You got it there.
Yep. Cool.
Perfect.
Excellent. So it depends. If we're working for someone else and it's our boss's pet project,
it's your pet project.
It depends on what you want to do with your career.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when we're trading our time for money, and that's what we're doing as an employee, we need to consider, is this the right place for me? And I want to buy into what the company wants to do. Now, if you feel that what you're working on is more important, that's a negotiation with you and your boss. Don't be passive aggressive about it. That would be really bad. Don't just go and do your stuff and say, aren't I cool? Actually sit down and talk to your boss. Say, look, hey, I love this project that you've got there. I'm also working on some of this other stuff. Hey, for you, what would be more important right now? Because we want to actually be upfront about what we're doing. That being passive aggressive in a work situation is really, really bad. Not great communication. And it's not great if you're a manager either to be the same with somebody else is working on something, not doing what you're doing. It's up to us to inspire our team to do that, to coming back to the common purpose. I fully get it. This is why I work for myself, Dave, because I wasn't good. I was on your team and not wanting to do all the projects that my boss always thought was more important. But there again, I didn't have the perspective of their viewpoint, and sometimes we do get like that. It's so talking to friends and family and everything else. So often when we talk to people who are employed, those people that own the business, they know nothing, but they do own the business. So we do have to look at what is their agenda, what are they trying to achieve, and if we can help them achieve that faster, then we're going to be seen as being awesome, and we're going to get promoted and ultimately rewarded for it. And if they're not doing that, we'll go and find somebody else who will reward us appropriately, which is only fair. Are you happy with that answer, Dave?
Caroline's on here too. Thoughts on the amber light technique? Its approach to...
so I don't know the amber light technique.
Ooh,
you're talking about red, amber, and green. I think you are. I really don't know a lot about that particular technique. So I can't really answer it. I'm sorry about that. Do you know what the...
No, we'll do some research. There you go. There we go. We'll look into that one.
The amber light technique. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. We got through those questions. Just so you all know, we'll be launching with Kevin kind of towards the end of February. The first event will start. We're doing a 3-series leadership event, and it's really for our senior managers, CIOs, more executives, and those looking to grow their leadership skills that would be in more of a management role. So we'll be focusing on managing a high-performance team, recruitment, and what's the last one? Difficult conversations and communication.
Yeah, it's really getting what you want. So how you can influence others to your way of thinking.
So we'll send that out in the next week or so. Keep it like it's strictly limited places. There's a small fee attached to it, but it's a 3-series event. So keep an eye out and let us know if you want any more information. Look, on that note, Kev, well done. Really, really good information. I think, we took a lot today. Keep an eye out. We'll be doing quite a bit with Kevin over the next 12 months or so. There'll be a lot of blogs, a lot of articles coming out in news. So we've really got some useful and I suppose different content for you to learn and grow with ACS here in Queensland. So on that note, look, Kev, thanks for your time, mate. Really good webinar. I'd love to hear your feedback, and please feel free to send it through to Kevin. And again, what's that email address there, Kev? Kevin
at kevingammy.com.
And yeah, like I said, there's 3 spots available in this procrastination for ACS Queensland members. Send it through and we'll do a lucky draw, okay? Awesome. Thanks for your feedback, Caroline. And look, on that note, Kev, have a good day, mate, and have a good day, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, guys.